Common question that I get is what is the difference between a gratin and a scalloped potato? There really isn't much because a lot of the recipes for scalloped potatoes and gratin potatoes, you're using like a cream base, for example. But unlike scalloped potatoes, gratin has a cheesy topping, or it incorporates cheese into the cream base. And so that's what we're using is Gruyere cheese as our cheese topping. One of my favorite cheeses because it melts real easily and has a very nice nutty note to it. If you can't find Gruyere cheese, other cheeses like Parmesan, mozzarella, or even a Fontina cheese would work very well too. So to begin, we are going to make our cream base, and that is going to take 1 egg. Actually, my version I'm making today is going to take 1 egg. If you're making a batch, you need to use 2 eggs. So 1 egg for me, Andrew. And then next, you're going to be needing some fresh thyme and about a teaspoon of that. And then next, some fresh rosemary. I like using fresh rosemary for this recipe because the leaves are a lot easier to eat and they're softer than the dehydrated shelf-stable rosemary. And so you'll need about 1 teaspoon of that as well. And then I'm just going to slide that off the stem. And then give it a fine chop. And the fine chop is going to release the flavors and the aroma a lot more from the rosemary leaves. And then lastly, of the spices and herbs, you'll need garlic. Now, I'm one of those people that love garlic, so if a recipe says use 2, I'll probably use 3 or 4. I'm a garlic freak. This is a really big clove right here. And I'm not going to use that much, so I'll probably use 1/4 of this because purple skin garlic has a stronger flavor than the white skin garlic. So I'll set that aside, and then I'm going to give that a nice little mince here too, in the bowl with the egg. And then next, for this recipe, I'm going to be using a cup of heavy whipping cream. Large batch, use a cup and 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. Now, heavy whipping cream has a lot of fat in there. If you're trying to reduce the amount of fat you're eating, you can definitely use half and half to cut that down. But you may need to use an extra egg just to help with the binding of the cream into the potatoes. Or if you can't have dairy, you can use non-dairy alternatives such as oat milk. Oat milk is naturally creamy because of starches in there. So you definitely can use oat milk as a substitute for heavy whipping cream as a non-dairy alternative. And then I'm going to set this aside and give the cream base enough time to absorb the aroma and the flavors of the spices. Next, we are going to slice the Yukon Gold potatoes into thin slices. And I have some sliced ahead of time to kind of show you. This batch is going to be using 2 large golden Yukon potatoes. A larger batch for 4 to 6 would be about 3 to 4 large Yukon Gold potatoes. And you don't have to go super thin. And the cuts are going to be uneven, and that's okay because potatoes are not symmetrical, just like us. I left the skin on these potatoes because I like the texture and bite that they give, so that way it's not just creamy soft potatoes, when you're putting a bite in your mouth, you can definitely peel these as well, and peeling them is going to help the potatoes cook a lot faster. So I'm going to set these aside, and one of my hidden ingredients that makes this gratin so delicious is using a pink lady apple to give it a nice tart bite into that grand surprise. You can use a pink lady, you can use a Granny Smith or any other tart apple, or if that just sounds too weird, just leave it out and just use potatoes. So I'm going to cut that around the core, and just like potatoes, I'm going to try and get a nice thin slice of the pink ladies as well. Again, just like potatoes, if you want to peel the apples, go ahead, because it is going to help the apples cook a lot better if you don't like that texture of the skin. So what I have here is a pre-greased baking dish, and what you want to do is layer a potato shingle style, and it's okay if it doesn't stay in place because you'll mush it up together a little bit later, and then add in the apples. So repeat the pattern: potato, apple, potato. And then keep doing that, and we'll go to the next step. Once you have your baking dish filled with the shingle pattern of potato, and apple, we are going to top it off with the infused cream that we did earlier. So go ahead and pour that in over your potatoes and apple as evenly as you can. And then next, I love fresh black pepper. The Gruyere cheese. So I'm using a microplane to get these nice fine shredded textures. These fine shredded textures, say that really fast, is going to help the cheese melt real easily. So that's a good amount of cheese, I would say. So next, we are going to pop this in the oven, 400 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes. And some toasted breadcrumbs. Now I used panko breadcrumbs, toasted that on a pan with olive oil on medium-low heat with minced garlic and anchovy paste. Anchovy paste, an odd ingredient, but that's going to add a little bit of saltiness to it and a really rich flavor. So once the breadcrumbs gets all toasted, remove it from heat, and then I did some lemon zest in here. You don't have to do it that way. You can definitely leave the breadcrumbs out, or you can just purchase Italian seasoned breadcrumbs that are already available. So I'm going to be doing a very light sprinkle. And then we are going to pop this back in the oven and finish baking for about a minute or two, so that way the breadcrumbs get a little bit more toasty. Look, so good right now. I'm gonna get a little bit in my bowl. And this Valkenburg Gewürztraminer sounds really good. Available right next door from the Cove Wine and Spirits of Mackenthun's Fine Foods Minnetrista location. This has notes of roses, lychee, and passion fruit. Take a little bite. Who doesn't love potatoes?
Oh, that's a really nice bite of garlic. And there's a tartness in here too. There's actually, I think, there's apples in here. This is the Yukon Gold Potato and Pink Lady Gratin.
I love how you act so surprised that there are apples in there, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, we put apples in there technically, but I love it. Let's keep it.